Hello there, welcome back here to the workshop. As always, it's me, Bertie, here from Team Mac Fitness, bringing you another video here on the channel. If you haven't yet seen the last two videos, what's going on is we're making a little mini series. The first one, if you look back, will be the no equipment required session. So we just went through a few things there with 8 exercises and how to put them together, things like that. Next one then is the part 2, which was sprinting techniques and sprinting tips. So if you look at that video, and today we're just going to follow on from that with video 3. If you're new to the channel, there are loads of videos. You can check back on loads of different tips and workouts and things like that. If you're just here for these 3 parts, that's great as well. If you wouldn't mind liking the video and also subscribe if you have a chance, it would be great. So today then, in part 3, what we're going to talk about is kind of slightly longer runs. So sprinting, what we talked about, is all about, you know, your max speed and run as fast as you can and your breaks in between. Today is more so about kind of slightly longer runs, try and get that engine up, try and get that fitness up, because what we're looking for out of this is kind of to improve your engine, I guess what to call it, in sport, things like that. So what you want to be able to do, you can be fast, but you have to be able to sprint at that same max speed late in the game into the 50th minute, things like that. And that's where kind of the fitness comes in, your aerobic capacity. And if you improve that, then you'll be able to sprint the same way in the 20 minutes in the first minute, then eventually hopefully you'll be able to sprint the same in the first minute as you do in the 55th and the 60th minute, which is also important because towards the end of the games, that last ball, you want to win it, you want to get that score, win the game, things like that. That's where it comes in. So the fitness and the aerobic level will help you with your sprint repeatability, so that you'll be able to do those max sprints more in the game, things like that. So that's what we're kind of working on. So I did say that we're going on 80 meter runs, which I like to do. So if we loop around here, we'll see the board. So you have your 80 meter runs here, and I like to do 20 of them, which is equal to 1 mile, or if you don't operate in miles, it is 1.6 kilometers. And we'll be aiming to do that between 7 and 10 minutes. So what we're looking for, what came up as a question as well, is when I'm talking about 70%, 80%, 100%, what exactly does that mean in terms of running? So 100% is obviously your max sprint, as fast as you can go. Sometimes that's often 110% if you get like one of those really fast sprints and you don't even know you can run that fast. Then if you're thinking about 70 to 80 is kind of a high paced jog. Like you're talking about 50 is kind of that low paced jog, maybe when you're doing kind of a warm up lap, or in the warm up you might be going at 50%. So the way I kind of think about it is, if you get 70 or 80 that you're kind of running fast, but you know that you have another level to go, you're not up there at the max. So if you're thinking about your 80 meter runs and you want to get that mile in around 7.5 minutes, you will be up in around the 80 for all those runs. You might not get that on the first, but things like that, it's always nice to have a target, okay? So that's what you want. So always kind of keep track of your 80 meter runs. So if you get it in 10 minutes the first time, you might get it in 8 and then bring it down to 7, so you know you're progressing, and you might even find that your 80% gets that little bit faster. Next then is, if you haven't done it before, is 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off. So this is 30 seconds once again at 70 to 80%, and 30 seconds complete rest, so it's a complete stop. So you're waiting for the kind of beep to go again. As I said before, you can get interval timers as an app on your phone, which is great, and you can select 30 on, 30 off. If you want to change it up, you can do 15 seconds of work, which you might be tipping into 85 and 90%, and then a full 30 seconds rest, or you can take 15 seconds rest either. So it's 15 on, 15 off if you wanted to. And it doesn't really matter the distance, it's just about wherever you get in those 30 seconds, depending obviously how fast you're on. Usually we kind of do 8 to 10 rounds of that. So it's 8, it will obviously take you 8 minutes with the 30 on, 30 off, or 10 minutes depending on how many rounds you want to do. Once again, it's 70 to 80%. So in these, you'd never really want to be sprinting, because there's no need to be sprinting, because you're doing so many of them, you're not getting the same break as you do in your sprints. So you're going to kind of slow down as you're getting on. So you look at maybe your 70 or 80% in the first few rounds, might be slightly faster, and then you start dipping down as well as you're getting tired in these runs. The last kind of option we have then is 45 seconds walk, 15 seconds. So this is just a little bit different. So your rest is actually like an active rest on this. And what I like to do is I like to do the turn. So you'll be walking out for about 45 seconds, and then you're turning, and then you're kind of going for your 80%, 15 seconds. So ideally, wherever you walk in 45 seconds, you shouldn't make it back with your 80% or a little bit more, maybe in the 15 seconds. And the turn is also important because you want to, you kind of make it more, a little bit more relative to a game is what you're trying to do. That's why, once again, it'll be about 8 to 10 rounds of that. So what we're aiming to do is, the 5Ks are great, but if you just think about a 5K, it's kind of your constant kind of 5K pace, or whatever you'd like to call it. And in a game, you're chopping and changing, you're sprinting for a little bit, then you might be jogging, you might do a couple of half-paced runs, you might be doing that 70 or 80% runs. Most of the time when you're making a run for the ball, the start of it might be 70 or 80 and you're seeing how the play is developing, and then the last few meters then is your 100%, your max sprint. So you have to get used to that as well. So that's why I like doing kind of the 80 meter runs, because you have a turn in it, where if you do say a 1.6 kilometer run, you might just run the same the whole time at a constant pace. You might drift out of it, you might lose concentration, your pace might go down. But if you do the 1.6 kilometers in 80 meter lengths, you're getting to an 80 meters, you're turning, so you're practicing your de-acceleration and your acceleration then on a turn then as well, which is important. And it's the same with the 45 seconds on, 15 seconds off. It is a good point to make that what is 70 and 80%, so it's really different for everybody. It all depends on kind of what your max sprint is as to what your 80 and 70% is. And some people, that's why it's important to do your sprinting, because some people really don't know what the potential is in their max sprint or how fast their max sprint is. So that's why it's important to train that, and that's what the video before this was, to get you used to doing it. And as I said, you need to take your breaks. In this, it's about building up kind of your endurance and your aerobic capacity, so the breaks are less, so you're really challenging your body, so that with the weeks of doing this training, that your recovery becomes that little bit quicker in the game, so that your level or your energy bar comes up, as that's what you're training, that's just coming up that little bit quicker, so that you can do all these sprints kind of again and quicker. So some people might do a max sprint in the game and it could take 2 or 3 minutes before they're able to do it again. But what you're trying to do and train with these sessions is trying to make sure that you can sprint the most times in a game and recover quickly in the game in order to sprint that again. And all it is about making that ball, getting to that ball first, getting that score, covering the space, getting that tackling and stuff like that. Now, this is relevant to a sport, because obviously if you've been following these 3 videos, it's relative to kind of a team training for the GA. It can be soccer, of course, as well. But these are great runs to do, not only in relation to sport and performance, but also just for general fitness and things like that. If you don't really want to go on a 5K, you find 5K is boring or takes too long because you're looking at 5K for maybe a half an hour, you'll have to go somewhere in order to do it, somewhere safe. Your road mightn't be too safe at the moment, especially in the dark evenings, things like that. But if you bring it back down and you can do 80 meter runs, you can even half that again if you don't have the space. There'll just be a little bit more turning, but you're looking for that 1 mile. And then if you ever want to do it again, your whole session could be sets of miles. So you could do the 1 mile, you could take a break, do another mile, take a break. You could work up your 5Ks like that. So if you've done in around 4 rounds of that, that would be your 5K. And it's much better than you, because you're going at a faster pace, because you know that you're only doing the 1.6 kilometers, which is what you want in the game. Yes, in most games, average working around, you're probably, depending on your position, you're probably covering between 8 and 12 kilometers, but there's no point going out and running that at a nice steady pace. You want to be chopping and changing, breaking it up like that in kind of a sprint session, and then do the longer runs. This can just be a session on its own as well, if that's what you want to do. If you have the half an hour and you want to do the 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off, nice warm up, do your 8 to 10 rounds of that, and that can be your session. That's no problem at all. Or you can put it together with the 2 sessions we've also done in the video. As always, if there's any questions, don't be afraid to get in contact. You can DM me, you can email me at bertmac86@hotmail.com. You can go like Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, it's all there. TM Fitness and TMF Workshop, depending on what social you're going on to. Also, if you want to pop over to Spotify, I have also a podcast, talk through a few different topics as well. Some of this kind of stuff is covered in some of the podcast then as well. So that's all for today's video. If any questions, just drop us a message. And as always, train hard, be safe, and look after each other.